All right, let's see. All right, so I just want to talk about a few of these things that we've already kind of looked at. This is going to be important that I'm going to mention today, a tautology, and it's not so much that you memorize this term, it's that you know that if you have a statement, the truth table has all truths, then it's a tautology, and that's going to be important for what we're going to do in the 120 tonight. A self-contradiction or just a contradiction is just always false. All right. So these right here, Alex in Math 120 is going to ask you about these. So I just want to make sure that we got them. Plus, we got to know about the tautology idea. In other words, all truths when we get in here tonight on 120. All right. So remember this thing over here. I added a little bit to it to make it a little bit more useful. I'm kind of a verbal person rather than having to memorize things. So on page 21, what? There we go. There's a summary of all these things. Oops. And what I would suggest is just taking a picture of it or writing it down or take a screenshot and have it at your side while you're working through your path and your review. Okay, because these things are the heart of this chapter, and you can't get through without these. So what I say, I'm just going to show it to you, but they're in this note, the teacher's notes that I have in Canvas, and they're all summarized right here. Okay. So there's the negation, and then here's the and, the or, the if then, and the if and only if. And like I said, is I don't memorize those things. I just basically remember like this. The conjunction is only true when both P and Q are true, otherwise it's false. In other words, the conjunctions have just got one case where it's true. And that's right here. When both true, both P and Q are true. Otherwise it's false. See, all you got to do is have one false in there, spoils it. The disjunction, I should say or is true when either P, Q, or both are true, and false only when both are false. So see this right here? These three are true now. The one that's false is the false. The conditional is the only one where order is important. Like for P and Q and P or Q, you can swap those around, Q or P, P, Q, and P. It doesn't matter about the order. But for this one, the if P then Q, it does matter about order. So the conditional statement is false only when the antecedent, which is the P, is true and the consequent is false. And you can see that one right here. See that? The second one? And right there, we can see there's the false one. In all other cases, it's true. True, true is true. False, true is true. False, false is true. And in the biconditional, as long as they match it's true. Okay. So as I said is, let's see if I can make it just a tiny bit smaller so that it'll fit. And what I might suggest doing is just taking screenshot of that or printing it out, whatever, and then use it while you're getting ready in this chapter, because these things are the heart of the chapter. Okay.
So question, we could use this while we take the test, you said?
You cannot do it for the midterm or the final exam. So I would highly suggest that by test time that you wean yourself off of it. But I'm not that worried about it for the test. But for the midterm and the final, there's no notes. That's the one that's locked down. That's the one where you got only your paper, your writing stuff, and your calculator. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm firmly convinced that if you have these for the next week as you're going through your path, and then when you hit your review, you should be able to pick these up. If you use them 5 or 10 times each, you can learn to distinguish between them because they are not interchangeable. So let's go over and work on a little truth table. All right. Let's do let's see if we can just do a truth table. What is one we can do the truth table for? All right, I'll tell you what. All right, so I'm going to put a little truth table in here, and we're going to make one for all 3 of these. One second. All right. All right. So I'm going to start with doesn't matter which ones we do first. This is going to be P. And this is Q. And then it's true. True. And Alex, you don't have to worry about creating these. They do that for you. All right. I'm going to do B and C first. I think that'll just be a little bit easier. All right. So for both B and C, I need to have what? What's common to B and C? What do they both have? One has an and, one has an or, but what's the same about them?
Or negations.
B and Q letter.
There's a negation P in both of them, right? See, there's a negation P. There's a negation P. So no matter which one of those we do, we need a negation P. And how do we find out what the negation of P is? Let me write it a little bit better. How can we find out what the negation of P is? We go to P. True, true, false, false. Well, the negation of it is just the opposite. All right. So false, false, true, true is the opposite of P right there, okay? So now, all right. So I'm going to do B first. So not P. And that's and Q. All right. All right. So here's the thing we got to realize, and this is why I say those these rules over here are important, because see if I can, I was trying to hope I could put them on here at the same time for you. All right. So for this one right here, look at that connective. All right. See that right there? That's what we're doing. That's which one of these? That's this one here, okay? So I'm using the and rule on not P and Q, these two right next to one another. There's not P and Q. The order doesn't matter for and or. So for and, as long as I get an F in there, it's false. So there's a false. There's a false. And there's a true, because I got two trues. And there's a false, because it's false true. You got to have two trues for an and to be true. All right, so that one's done. Let's do the C. That's P or, I mean, not P or Q. All right, so now I'm using the or rule right here. All right. So as long as I got one T in the mix, T is true. True, false is true. False, true is true. The only one that's false is false, false. So I'm looking at these two now, not P and Q. As long as I get a T in there, it's false. As long as I get a T in there, it's true. But two falses makes it false. So that's why this one, the second row, is false. All right, so now look at these two. Are they alike? Are they the same order of trues and falses? For the not P and Q, it's false, false, true, false. For the not P or Q, it's true, false, true, true. They're not the same. So these two, B and C, are not alike. But they're telling us which two statements are true. So I'm thinking it's going to be that last one. So all right. So I'm building now this one. And I saved that one just because that one's a little bit more complicated. All right. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to move, put my P here. And then I'm going to put the not Q right here. I'm going to have to create the not Q because we don't have it, but the P was already over here. I'm just moving it from over here. So this is true, true, false, false. Now the not Q is the opposite of the Q. So instead of true, false, it's false, true. False, true. The opposite of Q. All right. So I got the P and I've got the not Q right there. What I got to put it together with is the and. So I'm going to use the and rule again, and I'm going to put those results right there. So this is going to be P and not Q. And I'm using the and rule. I'm using this first one after the P and Qs. So I'm using that. It's only true if I got two trues, otherwise false. So here, this is false because I got a false in there. But there's our friend, the two T's. This is false. And there's true. All right. Are we done? Not quite. Because we're not doing just the inside. We got to take the negation of it now. All right. So I'm going to put right here. Extend this over a bit. And then I'm going to put another line. And I'm going to write it in there. I don't really need another line at the end. So then it's going to be the negation of. I'll tell you what, I'm going to see if I can type it out in text. All right. So we've got this one done there. So now we're just going to take the opposite of it. So false becomes true. True becomes false. False becomes true. And true becomes false. All right. Now tell me, out of the ones we've just done, we did this one. We did this one. And we did this one. Hold on a second. False is true. True is false. False is true. And true is false. Let me back up and just double check. So that's right. But let's see if I got this right. So P, true, true, false, false. Not Q is false, true, false, true. The and is false, true, true, false. And that's false. All right. That's what I did. All right. So that means this one here. So now, here we go. These two are equal. So let me write that right here. A and C are equivalent. Okay. So that's the gist of using the truth tables to just find the truth values. And if two of values, two statements have the same columns, order of truth values, then they're equivalent. So as I said, it was B. Whoa. It's actually B, I should have said. Let me back up. B and C are equivalent. There we go. All right. So that's the gist of finding truth tables. It's a bunch of steps. It's the pretty much very similar process to the set operations over in chapter 2. So over here, to just kind of show you, if we were to do a truth table for the De Morgan's laws, then we would come out with the same order on those. All right. Because they're logically equivalent to one another. In other words, not P or Q is logically equivalent to not P and not Q. Not P and Q is logically equivalent to not P or not Q. So those can help us determine equivalence. And also, because this is negating the whole statement, we can use it to do negations. Let's see if we can do a negation here too. All right. So this right here, studying necessary is our P. Well, let that be the P. This is the and then this is the Q. All right. P is studying as necessary, and Q is I am a hard worker. And is our operator. Now we're going to go up here, and you see that part inside of there? That's what this is. So if we negate it, the whole statement, all right, then that's going to be this up here, not P and not Q. So that means then this is going to be, whoops, this is or, I'm sorry. Batting for 100 here tonight. I had it right. What am I saying? All right, so this is going to be the statement here. So we're negating the P and Q. So what we're doing is this. So that means then our statement is going to be studying is not necessary, or I am not a hard worker. So that is the negation of the statement given in A. All right, because the P and the Q, they get negated. The and becomes an or. Just like up here, when you negate that whole thing, the P and Q, that's why the parentheses are there. Then you negate each piece separately, you turn the and to an or. And then the same thing happens when you start out with the or. You negate each piece and you do the or to an and. All right, so this one right here would be P or Q now. So we're going to use this one here and we're going to negate the P. And we're going to negate the Q and we're going to change the or to an and right there. So shop and okay. I will pass this test or I will drop the class. So again, you've got a P or Q. So this is P or Q. So it's really the same one because this was or and this one's or. There's no negations in it. So this is going to be, we're just using the one up here because it's an or we're negating. We're negating the or statement. So it's going to be not P and not Q. So there's your negation of C. What happened to it? There we go. All right, so this one, the patient needs an RN or an LPN and she's very sick. All right. I don't know if I may have enough room for that one. Let's go down and look at another one on this one here. Where we got a little bit more room. So they give us the answers there, just like they give up here, but you got to click if you didn't know that. All right. So we just got a few more minutes. I'm going to go through something. Oh yeah, the conditional. That's the one that. All right. So the conditional statement's got that special form. All right. Where is it? Here we go. So if P then Q has the negation of P and not Q. All right. That's one of the, it's not the same as De Morgan's law, but it's found using De Morgan's law. All right. So what we want to do is write the negation of the statement here. If the video is popular, then it can be found on YouTube. All right. All right. So this would be basically just if P, then Q. All right. So now using this, that's our negation. We just found that the negation of if P then Q is P and not Q. See if I can make a better Q. So then this is going to be what we're using right there. So the negation would be the video is popular and it cannot be found on YouTube. All right. Oh, and while I'm thinking about YouTube, just realize that in the addendum, you see these blue links? Those are the videos in YouTube for everything that we cover. All right. See, this was the last time, last class. And so when we finish it for today, I'll put them here. And I'll also put the 020 one in there, all on this one, because I don't understand the way Zoom does it, because you have to share it. And if we have to go through the problem of sharing it, then, it's easier to just put it on YouTube and share it. Then I can share it with my other classes too, because they got the links as well. All right, let's see if there's maybe another thing we can go before our little break. Has anybody got any specifics that they're working through in the path or anything so far? We're going to finish up the chapter today. But that was the part from last time. What's that?
I was saying I was doing the path in 120.
Right. Well, I was just wondering if there was any specific questions about things so far. Oh, and this is the things that we just used again. This is the De Morgan's law. And then this is that third one that I just used, the negation of the conditional statement. So that's the three you're going to be using in the 3.3 stuff. They are in the notes too. I basically just took a screenshot in there and pasted them in the notes. All right, so let's look at these variations again, and then I'm going to go through one of these in the second hour. All right, so the conditional statement would be just if P, then Q. The converse, they turn them around. In other words, P and Q just swap places. Q walks up to where P is at, and P walks over to where Q is at. That's called the converse. All right. The inverse is where we take that same order and then we negate each one. The contrapositive is essentially both of them. In other words, the way I look at it is do the converse, flip them around, then negate them in that order. So look at this. Here's a conditional statement. If Tessa is a chocolate lab, then Tessa is brown. All right, that's the conditional statement. This is P. Tessa is a chocolate lab. Q is Tessa is brown. Now, the converse is just going to be to swap places. In other words, Tessa is brown goes first. So if Tessa is brown, then Tessa is a chocolate lab. That's the converse. To do the inverse, we go back up here. And then we just negate them in that same order. In other words, Tessa is not a chocolate lab. So if Tessa is not a chocolate lab, then Tessa is not Q or not brown. And then lastly, contrapositive. If Tessa is not brown, in other words, we're taking the converse, the order of the converse, and we're negating them, much like we did for the inverse. So if Tessa is not brown, then Tessa is not a chocolate lab. So that's what we call the three variations of the conditional statement. And that's where I'm going to pick up in a little bit in chapter, at the end of chapter 3 and look at that. One more of those. I guess I could do it now, but I don't know if I got enough time. Where is it at? All right. So we'll save this for the last part of 3.3 when we come back at the next hour. Anybody got any questions, concerns? If you don't have anything, go ahead and split. And if you can stay around, if you got something.